Okay, I'm here with Araneae, obviously, and it's not reflections. Actually, this time we're going to do a different feature I'm doing where the concept is like to talk about a player that someone's really passionate about. And so I thought within the concept, like I don't just want it to be fans or journalists. I thought it'd be really cool if there's like some players who will even say like, no, like that's someone I always admired, or something about that guy. Like I used to look up to him, or I enjoyed watching his play, like something about who's special. And so who's the player that you're going to talk about today, Araneae?
Well, everyone is like hyping so much Asians and stuff, but I guess like for me as a jungler, I have to have so much respect for Diamondprox. He's a close friend of mine. He's the Russian jungler from Gambit Gaming, and he's for me like the most the most respected jungler ever.
Now, most people, even if they were, if it would be hard for me to get LoL pros even to say something on a show like this, right? And even if they did, I think most of them will just do something like say I got like an AD carry from Europe. Okay, he'll be willing to say like Uzi's really good because he's never going to talk to Uzi. He's off over there, and everyone can just admit he's good. But he probably wouldn't say like Genja is good because he's going to play Genja every day. Okay, so you've picked a guy from Europe who's a jungler as well. Like you don't feel at all like you don't have such a rivalry with him that you can't admit that he's really good.
Actually, no. Like I've been playing against him. I actually think I played like 9 or 10 times against him. And I never have like any troubles. Like I think he's an extraordinary player. He's a good friend of mine as well. And I think he's overall, like for me and for a lot of people, he's probably the best jungler in the world. So I have to just respect him a lot from that.
When you, if we go right back to the beginning, one of the things people don't know about you is that you literally are one of those people who played before there even were like seasons of like competition. You played like back when it was like 2009 or 2010 or something. Well, Diamondprox didn't appear until the very end of 2011. So had you ever even heard of him? Had you ever even seen him in solo queue?
Never. I was playing this with those guys like Wicked, like Soras, like Linux back in the days. We were like a small group of like top players playing all the time against each other. And I never ever heard about Diamondprox, never. Like the first time I heard about him was with the Team Empire, the qualifier they play against SK. And he was playing good, but he wasn't like that good. And then when they went to IM Kiev, it was just impressive. Like he has changed the metagame, he has changed all the playstyle in Europe, he has changed all Team Empire. I think it was Moscow 5 on that tournament already. Yeah. And they just changed the whole scene of League of Legends, the whole like metagame, the playstyle, everything around him, and that was like something no one ever did. Not even like a mid player, not even like a top player. No one. Like he was the only guy who changed the whole metagame into him.
When you say that, okay, a lot of modern day fans won't understand because they won't know what was it like before. So when people hear about counter jungling, that existed in some form before, didn't it? Like what was it like before Diamondprox?
To be fair, like in solo queue, there was people playing Listen. Like there was. I think even Sook, like in season 2, he was like a famous Listen player. Like there was a lot of people playing Listen. But then in terms of like pre-made, no one played Listen. It was like, I remember the famous junglers for saying anyhow, like in Europe was like Maluno, was Snoopy, was me, and was Sadi from Fnatic. It was like the 4 guys who were like playing in every like top tournaments. And we were playing all the 4 champions, like the same champion. It was like Maokai, Alistar, a Mew Mew, and something like that. It was like tanky champions. Like no one of us will ever expect that a champion like Listen will be ever played in competitive, because we thought like in terms of team plays and team fights that champions apply like CC and apply like much more pressure to the enemy team than Lee. But then this guy just came and started playing these solo queue champions because no one was playing like Listen on our team. Like seriously, I've been playing pre-mates since season 1, and I never played against a single Lee. And then this guy just came and just like stomp everyone because it wasn't even funny for them at Kiev. And he just like dominate every single team with Listen. And then he was also playing Sivana jungle. And I was like, wow, he's just changing all the metagame into that. And it was that impressive because probably in solo queue, people was playing like Lee and stuff, but in pre-made, no one ever will think about playing that.
Those first 2 tournaments, the 2 IEMs, where, okay, obviously Moscow 5 as a team themselves were stomping as well. Like that's when Alex and Genja were like really like the top peak. Was Diamondprox himself, like, was he already the best at those tournaments? Was he really ahead of like the Saint Vicious, Odd One, Linux, everyone else who's a jungler?
I think so. Like for me, always when I talk about like Saint Vicious, the Odd One, even Linux, they are methodically really good. Like they know what to do at every single point. But at some point, if you study them, you kind of know how they play. You kind of know how they're gonna play. And still, they're gonna do really well. But you kind of know how is their play style. If you try at this time to study Diamondprox, there was no way anyone can anticipate to any of his move. Like he was completely unexpected at every single moment. That was like the biggest words I can say for Diamondprox. Because I've been like till even season 4, I've been like watching even Koreans, Chinese teams, whatever. You see the junglers, and apart from like Insect or a bit of more like junglers like that, Kakao as well, everyone can be like studied, and you can pretty much know how they're gonna play. But Diamondprox is always so unexpected that you can never like know where he's gonna be or something. That's for me the best thing that guy has.
Back when they first rose up as Moscow 5, to a lot of the community, they were really mysterious. Like you never saw interviews with them except Alex, and no one really knew anything about them. When did you actually become friends with him at this point? When did you get to actually talk to him and get to maybe like see what he was like, what his brain was like aside from just playing, you know?
Okay, the funny stuff was season 1. I got SK Gaming, like SK Gaming after the team with Sleazy Weezy and who was there? It's Sleazy Weezy. It wasn't Candy Pan. It was like a couple of 5 German guys who went to the WCG. Yeah, after that, I was playing with a team. We did like every single go for LOL. It was with Wicked, Linak, Althor, Ocelot was there as well. And we were winning every single go for LOL. And it came, and Rated was there as well, sorry. It came SK Gaming to get us. At that times, when we had that team, I remember like Alexis was playing for us. Like Alexis was playing.
Oh, he was the jungler, wasn't he?
No. Alexis was mid laner. He was, okay. But he was only playing Pantheon. And he was really funny to play with Alexis. I remember he was like shouting every time he was like killing because his English wasn't that good, but he was like expressing with like shouting and killing people. It was pretty funny. But he didn't play with us a lot of time. He left a couple of weeks after, I think before signing SK, he left, and he started to get this team empire with like Russian people. And I get in touch with them. Like with Alexis, we were always talking because he was also a good friend of mine, like always. But in terms of, it was Gamescom. The season 2 finals, European finals at Gamescom. I finally met all of them, and it was, well, actually like Gendia and Darien, I actually never talked with them, but with the rest I have the chance to talk with them, and they were also they were really good guys. Especially like the biggest evolve for me was Diamondprox, because in Gamescom he could only say like hi or something like that. His English was really bad. Like he has non-English, like he couldn't speak anything, and then at some point he keep evolving, and you see like how nowadays he can even do like an interview in English, and that's pretty amazing for me to watch that.
I mean, we've now actually seen there have been some interviews, like you're saying, in English with him, and I've seen him write blogs and stuff, and it seems like he's quite an interesting thinker. Like the way he thinks about his new things, it's not like, okay, when Genja does a new innovation, no one ever gets to understand how he does it or what it's supposed to mean, because we never get to see it in English, you know. But since Diamondprox explains it, okay, you can see what the logic is. Like, how would you describe, how do you think he sees the game? How does he think about it? Is there something different about him?
Well, I have to say that I believe he's somehow talking a lot with Alex. Because I remember in Gamescom, I remember like it was yesterday. Like we were on the lobby of the hotel, and it was with Extinct. It was with Maluno was there as well. Wicked was there. Alexis was there, and we were talking about like people in solo queue, about items and stuff. And I felt like I always had like a lot of low notes about like players, about items, and about like skills and stuff, and about champions. And I was surprised because Alexis was really, he has a really high knowledge about everything. He was telling me like some kind of tricks and stuff that I was like discussing with him, and he was actually really smart about the game. So I believe like Alexis and Diamond talk a lot about that, like about itemization, about like champions and stuff. But yeah, somehow like Diamond, he's that guy who goes to solo queue, watch someone playing like Naces, like Bolivia and stuff on solo queue, and he believes he can pull that on pre-made, and he started playing that, and then the funny stuff is what you said. Like someone was, I don't know, I remember when he was playing AD Evelyn, everyone was saying AD Evelyn, why this guy is drunk or something. Like it was no sense. And then he's playing on a block, and I was like, wow, it's completely true. Like I cannot agree more on what he's saying. And I started playing Evelyn because of him, and then I started playing just tanky Evelyn. And he even told me like Tanky Evelyn is also super good. And then I remember he was building the Sunfire, Thornmine, Evelyn, and he was super annoying and with a lot of my presence. And I was impressed because that guy just has like new ideas from nowhere and he's pulling them and he's working perfectly for them. And yeah, like the blocks, I actually like been reading all his blocks because it's really interesting what he's saying. He's actually really smart on the game, Diamond.
Yeah, I mean, when we think of his most famous innovations, which are the ones? I mean, you mentioned Lee Sin, and then nowadays in the very later game it's Eve. Who in between were the really unique ones? Like, where did that come from? You know.
He pulled the Nasus, even though like it was a couple of solo queue players pulling them, but he pulled it on pre-made and he was really successful. And he said something in an interview that I completely agree with him. Like he said something like, Nasus has no skill sets, Lee Sin has skill sets. With Nasus, I'm 100% sure I'm gonna perform well. With Lee, if I miss my Q, if I miss something, I'm not gonna perform that well. So that's why like Nasus is that good. And that's true, like it's same for a champion like Bolivia. And also Shin, he was also pulled by him. And I guess that's all. Evelyn, he was trying to pull Karma, even though I never expect Karma was a good pick for the jungle. But he was trying to pull her. But yeah, and also like even though he didn't pull him, sorry, but he was probably like the best by far with that champion was Udyr. Yeah, like Udyr,
sure, yeah.
He was the only guy playing Udyr when no one, like everyone said like, no, Udyr is completely out of the meta, everyone can get Udyr, and he was like, I don't care. I play Udyr and I carry my team alone with Udyr because he's like, it's probably one of his most significant champions on his champion pool. Like Evelyn, I will say Evelyn, Lee, and Udyr.
It's funny that nowadays it's very famous that all Western players even admit like they watch OGN and then they look what picks work there and they copy it. And it's almost like everyone just like looks there like, oh, what am I going to play next week? Oh, that might be good. But the Koreans themselves even admit that the one player they all look at is Diamondprox. Like all the junglers, they watch Diamond play and they see what is he doing. Is he like totally unique in that sense? Does he? How much of his ideas do you think actually worked? Does some come through that are really unique and then they just don't work whatsoever?
I will say 50%. Sorry, not 100%, 50%. Because he's been testing a lot of champions. Like when you scream against M5 or sorry Gambit, he was playing Shen. He was trying to pull Shen into pre-made, didn't work. He was trying to play Escarna, it didn't work, and worse with the new rework. Escarna is pretty bad, and he was pulling like a lot of champions like Karma. He also tried to pull Karma, it didn't work out, and I don't remember. Like I believe he tried to pull a couple more champions, but it didn't work out. Still, like he was always like trying to work on the metagame, like trying to pull something new. I think that's great. I've been trying to do the same. I think like the only successful champion I've been pulling was a Vi on League of Legends, because the rest was maybe Lee on the Western, because no one was playing Lee anymore. But he always tried to pull new champions, and he's actually having success with them. I remember like back in the days when everyone was playing Rumble. Like Rumble was just an OP champion with the Q buck. Darien didn't play Rumble because he didn't like it. And I remember like Diamondprox playing Rumble in the jungle. It was pretty funny to watch actually.
Did it work?
Yeah. No. Well, in solo queue he was actually like carrying some games. In pre-made it was funny, but I think he never ever pulled it after that because it didn't work out that well.
One of the things that's weird is a lot of the old school junglers were when like it seemed like it didn't matter if you had really good mechanics or not. Like people like Snoopy and the Odd One, they could be really, really good, but just by decision making or like team play with a certain teammate. And then because Diamondprox is like the Lee Sin player and these sorts of people come in, now it seems like people put a lot of focus. Like you have to have really good mechanics. How good mechanics actually does Diamondprox have? Like are they actually as good as Korean people? Is he a bit below? What do you think?
I think like he was prized by being like in Europe at least mechanically god. But I think like his mechanics are pretty high. Not even like a Korean, because we know how Koreans plays and how Asians plays. But his best thing is not mechanics. Like by far, his best thing is knowledge about the game and being in the right place at the right time. That's by far his best point. Like he was playing champion like Udyr, he was playing champion like Bolivia, he was playing champion like Nasus. With that champions, your mechanics are below zero. Like you need nothing. You need to click like 2 buttons, like nothing else. Probably the only champion need a higher mechanic is probably like Evelyn or Lee, but the rest needs like zero mechanics. The good thing of Diamondprox is that he's always in the right place in the right moment, and that's something that it's really, really particular in him.
When I was saying that description before about how like even the Koreans look at him, the junglers do, it seems like that's another area where he's a bit unique, because now it's gotten to the point where, okay, even if Europe was really famous for our mid laners, well, now there's Faker and now there's other mid laners who at least they're at the same level, if not better, you know. So now Korea really does have every position, it seems.
In the same level.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, just to be polite. But the thing is, it still seems like Diamondprox has something over some of the Korean junglers. Like, he still has some unique quality that they don't. What do you think it is? When you think of the best Korean junglers, is there anyone who has all the skills he does, or is he got anything that he's different from other Westerners in that sense?
I think like there are a couple of junglers Koreans, like it could be Benji or it could be Kakao or a couple of more players that they actually pretty like in the same level of Diamondprox. But I guess since like Diamondprox been like pulling these new champions, being just pulling like new metagame and stuff, and he's probably like the reference from Gambit. Even like when Alexi was there, like even that for me, like Gambit was Diamondprox. Like our strat always facing Gambit was like, let's try to shut down Diamondprox. If he's shut down, then the game is fine.
Okay, well, so, how do you do that then? How does someone shut Diamondprox down?
Back in the days, I believe there was a couple of teams. I think it was CG Blaze a long time ago. They were trying to shut down Diamond by doing a 2v1 mid lane, for example. If you 2v1 mid lane, Alex is going to drop the tower. For not dropping the tower, Diamondprox has to be there. So somehow, with that, you are pulling diamonds to stick on the mid lane instead of like ganking and playing your team. That was long time ago a good way to do that. And I remember it was, I believe it was Katowice last year. Some Koreans tried to do that, and the first game is his workout. But right now, like it's completely different. Like the metagame is just swifting, and it's pretty hard right now to shut down Diamondprox. But talking about what you said about like Asian season and stuff, I believe what you say, like before, Europe was famous for the mid laners like Froggen, Expeke, even Jersen and stuff. They were like really famous players. Now in Korea, they realized that the metagame has to focus more on the mid laner stuff, and they are pulling like these guys like Faker or like Dade. They are actually for me like the best mid laners in the world, and they are not focusing that much on the junglers because the metagame is not for them. Like metagame right now is for like mid lanes, AD carries, like top lanes and junglers. If I ask like anyone who is the best top lane in Korea, I believe they're gonna tell me like Impact because he's SKT top laner, but they're not gonna think about the others because he's not like the famous role right now. The famous role right now is like AD carry and mid lane. That's the two lanes that can carry the most. So no one is putting that focus on the jungler as they are doing in Gambit gaming with Diamondprox. That's why like I believe that Diamondprox is so praised, because it's just like somehow the team plays around him, and he also like is, I don't know, he's just like the star. Is for example when you saw Katowice this year and you saw Insect playing, it was the team playing around him. It's not that bad with Diamondprox, but it's somehow similar. I remember like his first competitive game with Evelyn, season 4 this year, AD Evelyn, he was having more fun than Darien. He was having like equal fun. I was like, how is this possible? Like, seriously, is he cheating or something? Like, how does he have like 200 millions in 30 minutes? Like, that's not even set. Like, I don't even understand it. And he was like getting all farm, and he was like somehow that kind of carry on that team.
That's interesting you say that, because that's actually like another thing that he's done over the years is like change style. Because the early Diamondprox style, like Elise in, that you're going in the lanes all the time, then you're having to do ganks all the time. You're not going to farm up super big, are you? Yeah. And he's changed to this carry style even.
That's the best point of Diamond, because he can change his style. Probably if we go back to a season 2 style, he'll be actually screwed. Because I remember when we were playing against Gambit Gaming, well, M5 in the past, the bans were always the same. Like Gambit Gaming against any single team. It doesn't matter if you are SKT in season 2 that didn't exist, or you are SK Gaming, or you are TSM. They always ban Alistar, they always ban Maokai, they always ban Nunu. It's been for like 2 months, they stick on these 3 bans. Because they knew like these 3 bans were the strongest junglers in the game. And Diamondprox doesn't like them. So let's just ban them. I remember like playing against Gambit, I played against Moscow 5, I could never play like champions. I would start playing like Judy and Sen and stuff in the jungle, because the other champions, I will never be able to play against them. they were always going to ban that champions because that was the strongest champions in that metagame, and that was probably like the worst part of Diamond. But if you can ban them, then it's fine.
Why do you think he didn't like them? Was there just none fit his style? What do you think?
I don't know. Maybe you can't really carry with them. You are more like a support jungler with them. That's not his playstyle. Actually, like he's been trying to play a Moon and stuff, but he didn't work out that good as with Lee and stuff. So I believe it was just his playstyle didn't work with the support junglers back in the days.
One of the things that's always been like a mystery about M5 and Gambit was since you had Alex, and when they win, it tends to be because Alex is killing everyone. But you know that Alex and Diamond work as a combo, so you always have to. It's always hard to figure out like who is the one who's like carrying the other more, or it can't be 100. It can't be totally 50-50. Like how do you think their relationship works in terms of the actual game?
I think like for me, Genji wasn't always like the man of that team. He was in terms of position, Genji was really good, but compared with like Alex and Diamond, he wasn't even close to them. It was just like the focus of Gambit at some point was if you let 1 or 2 kills to Alex hits early game, or you let like Alex hit advantage in lane, he's gonna carry the game. Like Alex hits knows pretty well how to snowball games, knows pretty well when you have advantage, how to pull them harder and harder, and just like win the game by just 1 kill on him. And that's what like Diamondprox was trying to force. Like one funny point of like M5, it was in Poland after Alexis had a surgery because he could not breathe correctly or something. I remember he came to Poland and he drank 1 beer with us, and after 1 beer he was actually like pretty funny. We were talking with Extin, Alex, and me, and he pulled something and it was I couldn't stop laugh for like a couple of weeks. He said something like the strat of M5 is Darien push, he dies, he will die, like he will fit, he will always go on 5. Okay. And he told us this, he will go on 5, but it doesn't matter because Diamondprox will carry me and bottom lane and we'll win the game alone. And that was like, he is still like, we are in season 4, and even though they are not being that successful as they've been on season 2, they still playing the same metagame. Like you can see hundred of times how Darien is overextended, and he's like, when you watch a highlights of Darien, he's just like running over the base for like 30 minutes. That's a highlight. You watch a highlight of Jerson, he's like playing 3 guys. You watch a highlight of Diamondprox, he's like flash, kick, something impressive. And then you watch a highlight of Darien, and he's running all over the base for like 30 minutes. And that's the highlight. And that's pretty funny because he's the Gambit style. They just like they'll let Darien being like a distract for the team, and then like Diamond and Alex, there's synergy between both of them, and just like roaming and just like invading and stuff is so good that they can carry games alone by just having 1 kill on Alex. It's been so many games that you let like Alex, especially with a champion like Kha'Zix, he's get like 1 kill and the game is over. You know the game is over because every time you go back to lane, he's gonna jump on you, he's gonna harass you to like half HP, and he's gonna be full, and you have to back. And if you don't back, he will kill you and kills you and kills you. And that's the strength of like the old Gambit. Just like Diamondprox trying to help Alex a bit early game, and then the game is gonna be a snowball for them.
Since he has Darien as this top laner, most top laners spend all their time complaining like the jungler needs to come help me. Like I get what how do you think he works with Darien? Like what the fuck is their synergy?
The synergy is actually high. Like I remember I believe Diamondprox's best friend on Gambit is Darien. Like they've been really close together. But it's just strange. Like seriously, I watched so many times how like Darien is top lane, Diamondprox can be like in mid lane or something. He can go top lane, like he can. But someone is ganking Darien. He has flash, he has a dash or something, but he decides to go to the enemy base. He decides to pull like mid lane, jungle, and top lane to enemy base. So Alex hits and Diamond is gonna go invade enemy jungle. Alex is gonna keep farming, and they're gonna become stronger. So it's really like strange cases that actually Diamondprox gank top lane and get like a successful gank. I remember one against SK that they were pretty low, and Alex's flash Q with listen and kill Svensker and then get a double kill there. But it's really rarely the cases that Diamondprox is trying to help Darien to get kills. It's more like Darien is just playing the metagame that we can explain a long time ago. Like top lane, you have to think it's a straight 1v1. And he's thinking that, like, he's a straight 1v1. He's gonna overextend always. But that's actually that's also like a strong part of Gambit, because Darien, in terms of 1v1, he's really strong. He's always picking like strongest 1v1 champions, and he's always trying to pull that. Like, all the attention of the team on him, while Alex and Diamond is just like farming and becoming stronger than the enemy.
Everyone who's a fan of jungling matchups, there were these two matches where Gambit played against KTB. There was the one at the MLG, and then there's the one right now in Poland. And these were like, if you love jungling, this is the match you want to see. What did you think of those matches when Insect played versus Diamond? Was it as good as we expected?
For me, like the best moment I can remember was the outplay of Diamond played Yudhir against Lee. Yeah. That was just phenomenal.
Explain it to people who don't know what he did there. What did he do?
For me, like, if I was Yudhir, I would just run away, because he was about to die. But he was just like changing like between Darkbell to Beer to damage, and he was like doing perfectly, because he was like a stun. He was life stealing with the turtle, and he was doing damage. And I believe like anyone who played Yudhir will just run away from that, because I can watch it like 10 times and I will still thinking like I will run away now, trying to dodge like listen Q and then survive. But he was like, no, like I can kill him, because my lifesteal, my damage, and my CC is gonna kill him. And he actually did it like super close. Like even diving, I think he got like 1 or 2 tower hits. And it was for me like the one of the most epic like junglers 1v1 I've seen in a while, or probably in the history of League of Legends.
Because the thing is, until Insect came along like that, there wasn't like the one player that you could be like, oh, maybe he could beat Diamondprox. Of the people in history who you know, all the junglers, who were the good people who like did actually match up well against him? Like, I mean, people used to say Linak did, but then he got banned so quickly we never really got to see him that much.
Against Diamond?
Yeah. No?
In pre-made, like for example, like I've been playing scrims against them, and I remember when we were playing against them in Gamescom, we were training the 3 buffs level 1, and I remember I was playing like Sen or Yudhir and stuff, and he was doing blue buff, and I had warded, and I remember I was like level 1 flashing to smite the golem and run away, because with golem you get level 2 season 2, you get like rights, because rights spawned earlier, so you can invade, flash, smite the blue buff and run away. And like in the scrims, I could say like a lot of people can match up against Diamond, but in terms of pre-made and the pressure you have on the events and stuff, on like high events, Americans, I don't see a single jungler. Europeans, I don't like Linek. It's true, like Linek was really a beast. Brian was one of my favorite junglers, and a really close friend of mine as well. And it's pretty sad that he can't really play. There was also like a couple of junglers who were banned and cannot play as well. Sook was also playing at a really good level. Sadly, on LCS, he's not playing on that high level, but in the scrims, he was playing out of the world, Sook. And probably like the only one who wasn't really like matching up with him on Europe, I mean, was Sayadi. Like Lowry was not really being that strong, but somehow he was pulling things. Like he was pulling kills for Pecker, Soas, and somehow the team wasn't that good. He wasn't like playing 1v1 against him, because I believe like in Europe and NA there is no player that can match up on Diamondprox. I would say like Koreans, there will be like a couple, but not Europeans or Americans for sure.
One thing I've noticed actually about jungling that seems different in all the different teams is I was thinking about the NIP teams that recently failed to qualify 2 times in LCS. And both times they had problems with their jungler. And supposedly part of the reason they had the problem was in practices they were doing fine and they were winning and the jungler was doing what he should. He's ganking, he's engaging. But then every time you went in the big pressure match and the jungler knows like, oh, if I fuck up this Amumu toss, or if I don't go in now and I do it wrong, then the game might be over. And he's hesitant and he doesn't go in at all. Then they can't engage and they can't win, and it goes really, really long game and it goes out of control. And so I was just thinking that the best junglers must have to have that quality. Like in the big game, they're just fearless. Like they know, like, I have to go in now. If I do hit that Lee Sin Q, I'm going in, bro. Like, is Diamondprox like the good example of that?
Yes, it's a perfect example. And by the way, I see what you did with the Mumut Bandestars. That was actually a funny point. But it's true, like with NIP, they've been having problems. But it's all about the pressure. Like every time I play scrims, like I kind of lost against everyone. Like I wasn't ever like a great jungler in the scrims, especially. But then in terms of like LCS, at least the pressure wasn't that high on me at the start, not season 4. Let's forget that. But Diamondprox was never paying pressure. Like he was somehow always in his mind, he had the mind of the thinking of carrying the team. He had like the mind that he's the best. He had in the mind that he has to win the game, and he is actually pulling that. Like seriously, like a perfect example is Diamond, as you said, and another perfect example is Sook. Like Sook for Alliance, like if you played before season 4 a scrim against Alliance, you know that if you don't stop somehow Sook early game, you will lose the game alone. Like seriously, Sook and Froggen was winning pretty much because of Sook every single scrim alone. Every single scrim. It was seriously so impossible to beat them with Sook. And then he came to the States, he came to LCS, and his level is not even close to what he was on the scrims. It was like completely two worlds. And with Diamondprox, he's actually like playing the same on solo queue, they're playing the same on premade, and then like when he goes to States, he's even playing better. I don't know how. But he just like deal with the pressure so much better than anyone else.
There's something strange I've noticed about his personality as well, where whenever I did interviews with junglers, a lot of them would always tell me like, oh, you can't judge junglers compared to each other because, you know, if a jungler's lane's losing, then he's going to look bad. And yeah, there's a lot of truth to this, okay? But they're saying it so that like if they do badly, like, hey, don't say I did badly.
It's a good excuse.
A lot of these good players were telling me this, okay? But then whenever I looked at interviews with Diamondprox, he was like the opposite. Like I remember when he beat, at the Season 3 Worlds, he beat Ozone. In the interview, all he was talking about was like, yeah, well, it was a good game because I got to beat Dandy's Lee Sin. And then you were talking there about when he played Insect. It's like he wanted to outplay him on Insect's best champion. Like he almost takes it like 1v1, like personal. Like not like this excuse. Like I know like you like this as well. Like you were saying you wanted to play Insect on Lee Sin if you could. What do you think about Diamondprox's like personality in this and like competitive drive and stuff?
I think he's that kind of good mentality to have. Like, for example, if your mentality upcoming to a game is to win the game, it's a good mentality. Okay, right. It's the mentality to work on. Like, we have to win the game and stuff. The team has to win. But Diamondprox's mentality was like, I'm going to win this game. Like, I'm going to carry this game. I'm going to destroy this jungler. I'm going to destroy this mid lane. And I'm going to make them suffer and cry and just win the game alone. He was actually like, seriously, I remember so many games that he was invading without even like moving Alexis. So Alexis invades. He was just invading on his own because he was so much confident. Like the confidence Diamondprox has, and the confidence like also the spectator and the people is making Diamondprox like have is so much high that he somehow is pulling in on live events. That's a good point, and I believe his mentality, even though it's a bit selfie, even though it's a bit like ego, even though it's a bit like personal, I could say it's the best mentality you can have upcoming to a game, because it's the best way to win a game. Like just trying to win the game by your own, even though like it sounds a bit like stupid because everyone is saying like pre-made is a game of 5 and League of Legends is a game of 5, like you're playing team comps and stuff. Still, like if every single player of your team is trying to play the enemy, is trying to win the game, and is trying to like outsmart them, is the best way to go to a match, better than let's win as a team, let's be the best team and stuff. I think like trying to play your enemy and trying to be like the best, like Faker is doing right now, is the best way to go. And that's why like Diamond is being like, his mentality is just perfect for the game.
There's a lot of even great players who have a period where either they have a slump or maybe the meta, like all their champions go out and they can't use them anymore. Was there ever a period in Diamondprox's career while you were playing him where he was just less effective or the right champions weren't free? Can you ever think of a period? I mean, people are going to ask now because Gambit just did so badly, you know. What do you think?
No, but it's not Diamondprox's fault. Like, he's still doing fine. Some games he's getting caught, some games he's trying to pull something, because that's like, actually, Diamondprox, he's a guy that he's always trying to pull his stuff. If you watch like a lot of junglers, they're just like doing fine, like especially Koreans and Asian teams, they know each other so well. And apart from like the 2-3 guys who is trying to do crazy stuff like Insect and stuff, the rest are just like trying to play with the team. Like he's trying to play like standard, doing jungling, doing calls, moving, counter ganking. Like especially Koreans are trying to counter gank a lot, but Diamond has that style that is more focused on ganking, more focused on like winning the game by his own actions, like not waiting for the enemy to commit a mistake. That was like CLG strat. Like Froggen's strat was always like, you do a mistake, I take that mistake, and I will punish you, and I will win the game. That's completely different with Diamondprox. Like Diamondprox was like, I'm gonna force you to commit a mistake. I'm gonna go to jungle. I'm gonna press at you. I'm going to me like 3 times till I kills you. And that's like the playstyle of like Diamondprox. And I can really see like a slump. Probably it's not a slump, but when he was playing like champions like Nasus and Bolivia, his playstyle was different. Was more like a farming and then like counter ganking more than with his style with Lee, because Lee is like, I'm gonna gank you and I'm gonna kill you, and that's actually like the good style of Diamondprox. But I can really like see a slump on his career, at least at this point.
Moscow 5 and Gambit were always so famous for team fighting. What role did Diamond play in the team fights? Was it just the same as every type of jungler? What do you think he did? What was his role within it?
Well, it depends on the champion he was playing. For example, when he was playing champions like Lee Sin or Evelyn, he was just trying to, what we talk about Alexis, like just trying to make Alexis the head. So at some point when you want a team fight, Alexis is gonna be so strong that he's pretty much gonna win the team fight alone. But he's like, before a team fight is happening, he's just trying to pull that. When he was playing more champions like Nasus and Bolivia, and even with Evelyn, he was also do that. He was more focused on like being a tank, like farming and being super retardedly tank. And that was like his main like focus, being a tank, but still doing damage. Because champions like Nasus, champions like Bolivia, champions like Evelyn, these two champions, he was pretty much building them full tank. But his base damage on like Bolivia W or like Nasus Q when you charge it, or even Evelyn, like every single spell of Evelyn, base damage is retarded. Like it's so high. So he was trying to pull like these kind of champions, just farming and getting like tanky items, but somehow becoming so annoying because they were like unkillable, and at the same time applying so much damage to team fights.
Since one thing you would have thought about their team that would never happen is you'd think, okay, even if other players retire or they get a different player, the two that will always be there has to be Diamond and Alexich, right? But now Alexich is gone. Now, since in theory Diamond has really good English now, if we just imagined, I know that he'll probably stay in Gambit and they'll probably get some Russian or something. If for some reason we could take him or we could put him into another team or another team in history, what type of a team would Diamond work in that would be really good? If we go to, because we can't have him with Alex in this scenario, what's another team that he'd be really good in, do you think?
I believe like the best way Diamondprox can feed a team will be having a godlike mid laner, like having a mid lane that is pretty good and like has a perfect laning phase and perfect matchups and stuff will help Diamondprox a lot. I will always love to him like Diamondprox on Korea or like Chinese. I will really love to see that. But as like what you say, he's now speaking like English, so he can't really go there. But probably, I think like I was always in Europe. I was always like praying, especially like two guys in Europe. Like for me in Europe, it's all about like two guys and a team. It's all about the Fnatic. For me, it's like the favorite team. Like probably in terms of team player stuff, they are the best. But then in terms of like players, I was always praying like the two guys who went to the All Stars, because for me they are like mechanically one of the two best players in the world, that are Froggen and Diamondprox. And it will actually like could be funny to see someday, who knows, if Froggen and Diamondprox could match up on a team together.
How do you think it'd work? You think it would?
It could work. I think like Diamondprox, it has like a similar playstyle as Sook. The only problem is like Sook doesn't perform that well on events as Diamondprox does. So somehow it will be better. But I don't know, like it's just, I don't know, like League of Legends, people is talking about just getting like Faker in the mid lane, getting like Diamondprox in the jungle, getting like Imp or Deft, or even like who was the Royal Lady Carry? Uzi. Yeah. Uzi, and then getting like a Mad Life and get like the super team, and everyone is gonna be scared of them and they will beat everyone. But that's something, it will never happen. And second, the team play is not always gonna work. As we can see, like in Europe, people were saying like the super team, like Froggen is building like the best players. But at the start of the season, they were really, really bad. They were really inconsistent. So it's pretty hard to like try to get the best players on the team and make them work. But still, like for me, as I said, like I'm a big fan of Fnatic. I'm a big fan of these two guys, and it will be like pretty funny for me to watch Froggen and Diamondprox on the same team. I don't know if it will work out, but I would like to see that.
I realize on this one it's really hard to answer, but because right now we have no clue who the mid laner will be officially. Okay, we don't know who they'll start with at the beginning of LCS, but people are gonna think, okay, if it's not Alexich, how can it possibly be as good a team? Okay, but the real question I want to know is, Do you think Diamondprox can play the same way, just with just whoever they get, just a different mid laner? Will he have to change or something?
I think he has to change. He has to change way more, and they have to like change completely the playstyle. Like the playstyle before was, as I said, like Darien feed, run, highlights, running over the base. Alexis get fed, they win games. Right now, if Alexis is not there, I think it's gonna be way harder to carry games for them. So they have to like. Darien has to step up on their game, has to start playing like other top laners, like just trying to win the lane, not just like pressing the lane and just suiciding and make everyone follow you. Like he has to actually win the lane. He has the skill to do that. Like he's not bad. There is people are saying he's really bad. He's not. He's really good. But he just needs to like step up because he doesn't have like Alex in the middle. Like it's more important for me about like Darien, the absence of Alex than for Diamondprox. Like Diamondprox will stick on his playstyle, like invading and trying to carry the game. But the one who has to like realize is Alex is not there is probably Darien.
Okay, good chat here. I think you got fired up enough. You got into it. You got to give us some good funny examples. What do you want to say like as a final message about Diamondprox? How would you sum him up for people? And then anyone you want to thank or something like that at the end?
For me, Diamondprox is the guy who evolved the most. He became from a guy who never spoke English to a good friend of mine because we talk a lot together. And he's actually speaking really well English. He evolved from a guy who was platinum or was like gold, who get pulled to Moscow 5 and change the whole metagame and change the whole like champion pool for everyone, pulling that Sivana, pulling that Lee, pulling that Evelyn, pulling that Yuri, pulling everything. And he's that guy who is never gonna get tired of pulling new champions. And I guess the world is gonna, like League of Legends is gonna keep on like watching how non-used junglers are coming to become like really good junglers because of his playstyle and he's just pulling them.
Okay, gracias.
Gracias a ti.